You've heard it 1,000 times, right? Birds of a feather flock together. It's one of those sayings that just feels true, especially when we think about work. But what does the science actually say? Well, today we are diving deep into a major scientific review to see if that old saying really holds up. So let's get into it. I mean, it all starts with a very simple, very human truth. We're just naturally drawn to people who seem to mirror us, our backgrounds, our beliefs, our personalities. It feels comfortable. It feels easy. And this isn't just some vague feeling, it's a real psychological principle that's been studied for a long time.
And yeah, of course there's a fancy name for it, the similarity attraction hypothesis. This idea was really framed back in 1971. And the thinking goes like this. When we meet someone who's like us, it kind of validates our own worldview. It makes us feel good about our own choices, and that good feeling gets attached to the person. Simple enough, right?
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. What happens when you take that fundamental human instinct and you drop it into the messy, complicated world of work? With interviews and team projects and promotions, does it still work the same way? Is it a good thing, or is it a problem?
To get to the bottom of that, we're not just looking at one random study. No. We're digging into a huge, systematic review that pulled together and analyzed 49 different studies, all of them done specifically in the workplace. This gives us a way bigger, much more reliable picture of what's really going on.
So first, let's just look at the core idea. In theory, this whole similarity thing sounds like a recipe for a perfect workplace. I mean, if you fill a company with people who are all alike, they should get along great, trust each other, and everything should just click. But let's look at the logic behind that.
And the psychological logic is pretty sound. When your colleagues share your values, it basically confirms your own beliefs, and that feels good. This shared ground is supposed to be the bedrock of trust. It should create harmony. It should make cooperation flourish. It's a pretty straightforward idea.
But, and you knew a but was coming, here's the massive catch. The researchers behind this review call it a double-edged sword. That exact same instinct that can build a tight-knit, cohesive team can also, without anyone even realizing it, create a deeply biased one. And this really lays out the two sides of that coin perfectly. On the one hand, yeah, similarity can be the glue for great social interaction. It can build trust, it can foster cooperation. But on the other side, that same instinct leads directly to what we call affinity bias, where we just naturally favor people who are like us. And that, of course, excludes people who are different and can absolutely crush any real effort at diversity and inclusion. Okay, so we've got this tension between harmony and bias. But believe it or not, it gets even more complicated. When the researchers actually dug into those 49 studies, the real-world data didn't always follow the simple like attracts like rule. In fact, sometimes it did the exact opposite. I mean, check this out. This finding is from a 2005 study. Instead of automatically favoring job applicants of the same gender, both male and female recruiters actually showed a preference for candidates of the opposite sex in some situations. That completely flips the simple hypothesis on its head, right?
And here's another study from 2003 that muddies the waters even more. You would think, based on the hypotheses, that employees would respond best to feedback from a manager of the same race. But this study found that both black and white employees responded more favorably to feedback from white managers. This suggests that other forces, maybe things like perceived status or authority, can be way stronger than simple similarity.
And the complexity just keeps coming. A 2004 study found that even though women felt there were high levels of cooperation on all female teams, they also reported a greater desire to leave those teams than men did in all male groups. So the point is, something else is clearly going on here. So why are all these results so messy? Well, according to the review, a huge part of the problem comes down to the words we use. Specifically, what in the world do researchers even mean when they use the word attraction in a workplace study? And this is where it all starts to make sense. The term attraction is measured in a ton of different ways. Sometimes it's about a feeling, right? An affective measure, like how satisfied are you with your job, or how much do you trust your team? But other times it's about an action, a behavioral thing, like did you hire this person, or did you quit your job? The methods are all over the map. So the big takeaway here is really simple. When one study is defining attraction as I trust my boss, and another one defines it as I didn't quit this year, it's no wonder the findings seem to contradict each other. A lot of the time, they aren't even measuring the same thing. Okay, so all of this brings us to a much smarter, more nuanced way to think about similarity at work. It's not some ironclad law of human behavior that predicts every single interaction. It's something else entirely.
And this quote from the authors of the review just sums it up perfectly. Similarity is a force. It's a real driver of human behavior, absolutely. But, and this is the critical part, it's not so strong that it can't be overcome by other things, like your company's culture, or diversity initiatives, or even just our own conscious goals.
You know, a really great way to think about this is to compare it to gravity. Gravity is this constant background force, always pulling everything down, but we overcome it every single day, right? Every time we jump, or walk upstairs, or get on an airplane. The force of similarity is kind of like that. It's always there, this gentle pull toward what's familiar. But it doesn't decide our fate. Other forces, organizational forces, psychological forces, can and do push right back. And that leaves us with this final, really important question. If we accept that this pull toward similarity is a real part of our nature, but we also know it's not some absolute law we have to obey, what do we do about it? How do we build systems and cultures that acknowledge this little human bias, but actively work to counteract it, all in the name of fairness, diversity, and, finding the absolute best people for the job?